There is a team that is in real trouble. That's the very pretty but largely ineffective Ligier. René Arnoux sitting in it. He is 20th on the grid and was 25th in the warm-up this morning, and their handling problems have still not been cured. So up front, 4 turbos, Senna and Prost in the McLarens, Berger and Alboreto in the Ferraris. Nigel Mansell was 3rd on the grid for a long time until the closing stages of practice when the Ferraris punched past him on time, and he's now 5th on the grid, a leading normally aspirated engined car with a Judd V8 engine. And John Judd tells me that he's very optimistic that they have overcome the cooling problems which were adversely affecting the performance of the Williams cars in particular, but also the Ligers and the Marches in earlier races this year. If that is so, and Mansell is reliable, with a lot of attrition in this race, Nigel could finish well up. Nannini in 6th place, going well in the Benetton, but Derek Warwick has been absolutely outstanding here. He's 7th on the grid, but was a lot higher than that in practice, and today, in the admittedly damp but drying conditions, he went out at just the right time in his Megatron-powered, turbocharged Arrows and was 3rd fastest. I was talking to him just before I came into the commentary box. He was, as ever, absolutely bursting with life, enthusiasm and good humour, and is very optimistic about his chances, because the reduction of the turbo boost in the Megatron engine, looked after by Heine Marder, has beneficially affected their reliability. So, the famous Principality at Monaco. This is Casino Square. In the centre of your picture now, the casino that the man broke the bank at, and on the right you saw the famous Hôtel de Paris. They come up from the right. This is Saint-Devote, named after the patron saint of Monaco. And as you can see, there is 3 minutes to go before the start of this race, at which traditionally most of the competitors drop out, I'm sorry to say, but the pressures on the drivers and the cars are such that very often only about a world championship quorum of 6 drivers and cars finish the race. We'll hope for better than that today. It's 78 laps, each of them 2.07 miles or 3.3 kilometres, whichever you like. And so that's a total of about 161 miles. We're not expecting any problems with tyres. We're expecting everybody to go straight through. And there's going to be no problem with fuel consumption as far as the turbo cars are concerned. So, a good race ahead of us.
Yes, I would think so. The conditions are certainly pretty close to ideal in that it's not too hot, which should help the reliability of the cars and make the afternoon not too difficult for the drivers. There's a bit of cloud around, just enough to keep it reasonably cool. But of course, the problem that everybody faces is that 2 McLarens are just a lot quicker than the others. Now, Prost was a fair bit slower than Senna yesterday in qualifying. Senna, of course, loves this circuit and is a real specialist. Prost made a bit of a mistake on the setup of his car. They put it right, but he was much closer to him in the warm-up today. So the least we can hope for is a battle between them 2 McLarens. And, of course, the first corner will be interesting, because if Berger or somebody can get in between them, then, of course, it could make a big difference. It's very, very difficult to overtake here. It can take you a lot of laps to get past somebody.
Well, as ever, a marvellous sight at Monaco. The harbour is thronged with yachts, including an absolutely massive Cunard vessel, which has been specially chartered for the occasion by no less a personality than Ron Dennis of McLaren. And the famous and the wealthy are crowding the balconies all round this circuit. because this is a circuit the like of which there is no other in the world. The Monaco Grand Prix started in 1929. It was won by an Englishman, Williams, about whom amazingly very little is known, but he was driving a Bugatti, and it's gone on, and the course is largely the same as it was in those days. There's a new section from the back round the swimming pool and up to what was the gasometer hairpin, which is where the paddock is these days. So 30 seconds now to go to the, I emphasise, parade lap. When they get away, this will not be the start of the Monaco Grand Prix, and it will be the responsibility of Ayrton Senna on the left to lead them round at a reasonable pace. In Brazil, his car was jammed in first gear, unknown to everybody at the time, as a result of which he crawled round, as a result of which many of the normally aspirated engined cars grossly overheated, and it probably put finish to Nigel Mansell's Brazilian Grand Prix. Well, that's not happening now. They go round Saint-Devote, up the hill and on to Casino Square.
But talking of that problem, Senna had gearbox trouble this morning, and they've changed the gearbox on his McLaren. And of course that is a potentially suspect area for any of the teams here. The transmission in Monte Carlo gets a tremendous bashing. There are a lot of first gear corners, big loads going through the transmission. So round the station hairpin, first gear of course, and René Arnoux has failed to get away in the Ligier. And certainly the Judd engines are better on temperature, but they're still running pretty hot. And it's all a little bit marginal for them through the tunnel. One of the most spectacular sights in Grand Prix racing is to watch the cars in qualifying and inside the tunnel. Down to the chicane. Again, first gear. Sadly, the old chicane, which was such a wonderfully challenging corner, was really too dangerous because the slightest mistake pretty much guaranteed a huge accident. And that's been changed on safety reasons, and it's a bit of a sorry excuse for a chicane now. And up to the back, very quick left-hand corner. Some of them just weaving about, trying to get some heat into the tyres. And now the two McLaren. Senna now slowing the field down, hoping to get them nice and bunched. He doesn't want to sit on the grid for too long, with the engine running, with the car in first gear and the clutch dragging. And finally around the Rascasse, again first gear once more, and as they come out of the Rascasse onto the pit straight, there's a big hump there, and the rear wheels spin and the drive shafts get very wound up indeed.
The drama at Monaco is always Saint-Devote on the first lap. Who will ever forget the occasion when Derek Daly in the Tyrrell went flying through the air to land on the ground? Streff has gone into the pits, Stefan, and René Arnoux is starting from the pits, having been pushed through the tunnel on the assembly lap, so they've obviously put right his problem, but there he is, ready to rush out from the pit lane as soon as the last man on the grid has cleared it. Watch the lights. It looks to me as though almost everybody is in position. Quick look at, yes, now, 5 seconds or less from now. Senna gets away. Good start by Prost. He's slotting up into second position as they go up to Saint-Devote. It looks to me as though everyone's got away, and up into second place has gone Gerhard Berger in the Ferrari, and there's one off as they go through. Nicola Larini goes through, and that's Alex Caffey in the Dallara, who has gone off before he even got to the first corner, as the rest go up to Casino Square on lap 1. Through they go.
And you can see the flat spots on the car there where he's locked his brakes. And this is the worst result for Prost, that Berger has managed to get himself between. So Berger made a very good start, had the inside line for Saint-Devote, and Berger emerges in second place.
Senna, though, building up a cushion, thus ready as they come out of the tunnel at nearly 170 miles an hour down to the new chicane. And in the lead, it is Ayrton Senna, Gerhard Berger, Alain Prost, Nigel Mansell, Michele Alboreto. Then it's Boutsen, Patrese, Warwick. And look at Mansell. Mansell is going extremely well in the 3.5 litre, and it's Alessandro Nannini in the Benetton as out of the swimming pool complex down to La Rascasse, the first gear, 30 mile an hour corner comes the leader. Then Berger, there's Prost third, Mansell, Alboreto, Nannini, Patrese, Derek Warwick well up. They go through at the end of the first lap. Now, one McLaren is making a break, and there it is, Senna.
Yes, just what Senna wanted. He's got Berger helping him, inadvertently helping him. He's holding Prost up, and it's not going to be easy for Prost to find a way round. Already 2.5 seconds clear on the first lap. And Senna around the Mirabeau. Nelson Piquet in the pits.
Well, it looks like being a disastrous Monaco already for Lotus. Nakajima has not qualified. Nelson Piquet into the pits at the end of the first lap. There goes Senna into the tunnel, followed by Berger and Prost. And Prost has got to somehow try to get past Berger if he's to do anything about the man who is challenging his position for leadership in the McLaren team. Jonathan Palmer is in an excellent 9th position, coming out of the new hairpin. Now it's Senna leading. Look for Berger in the Ferrari as Alex Cathy downcastedly walks back to the pits. There's Berger second. Prost is third. Nigel Mansell is holding that 4th position as he comes round the right-hander, challenged by Michele Alboreto in the red Ferrari, and Nannini is in 6th position. Berger, Prost. This is the end of the second lap with still 76 to go. It's nearly 2 hours long, the Monaco Grand Prix, as Mansell rockets out of La Rascasse into the sweeping curve that leads up to Saint-Devote, which is very quick indeed. Then up to the hill where they're doing about 155 miles an hour. Berger second, Prost third, pulling away a bit from Mansell, still in 4th position, leading the normally aspirated runners. Prost goes round the Hotel de Paris, plunges downhill towards the Metropole Hotel on his left, coming up to the Mirabeau. Prost is getting closer to the Ferrari. Alboreto taking a look at Nigel Mansell. There is Nannini, and Riccardo Patrese is still well up in the second Williams, as Mansell with Alboreto right in his wheel tracks. There's Patrese. There's Derek Warwick. And we're on lap 3 into the long, long tunnel under Lowe's Hotel. And they go through that tunnel at 160 miles an hour. Over that, they exit the tunnel now, down to the new chicane. Left, right, Mansell, Alboreto, Nannini. Ahead of them, Senna, Berger and Prost. There's the Williams, Ferrari. This is where they've got this enormous crowd on their right. There's about 100,000 people here today. The swimming pool on their right now. The sea on their left as they come down to La Rascasse.
Yes, so this is where Alboreto will be looking to get as close as possible to Mansell to try and use the power of his turbo engine to get past him on the pit straight. So there is the queue, and already Senna over 3 seconds clear of Berger. Up the hill to the Casino Square through the wiggles up the straight, no chance of passing there, but the next possible opportunity is to outbrake into Mirabeau. Of course, Mansell now has enough breathing space.
Well, Senna, this superhuman man, has increased his lead to some 4.5 seconds now. Into the pits comes one of the marches. I can't see whether it's Gugelmin or Capelli. It was Capelli, who's had a dreadful practice going off all the time. And now, with the lead unchanged, Ayrton Senna with Berger chasing him, then Prost. Here they come. There's Mansell in 4th place. Alboreto still 5th. Nannini still 6th. Patrese still 7th. So the 2 Williams cars are well up in the hunt. Reliability is the name of the game in this race. McLaren are bound to have reliability. I think the Honda engine is famous for that. Berger has now got Alain Prost in third position, right in his wheel tracks. Prost in third place. The man who's leading the World Championship is getting close to, not yet in, but close to a situation where he could try to duck out from behind the Ferrari. This is one of the few places here where you can pass Sander Vogt. He's closing up all the time, fourth gear, fifth gear, now back into fourth, about 95 miles an hour as they come round the Hotel de Paris, flick right through the Casino Square and drop down towards the Mirabeau.
Yes, and I think Prost is planning to have a look down the inside into Mirabeau, but he wasn't close enough there. But Prost is definitely starting to make a move.
And as you watch Prost and Berger battling for third position, we are on lap 5. Senna leads, Berger second, Prost third, Mansell fourth, Alboreto fifth. Nannini is in sixth position, Patrese is seventh, Warwick is eighth, Palmer is ninth, and Eddie Cheever is in 10th position as the second and third men exit from the tunnel. I remind you that Julian Bailey sadly failed to qualify. Now Prost is getting close to a position where he could challenge Gerhard Berger for that second place as they come up to Saint-Devote, having completed, as they will then have done, 5 laps round La Rascasse. That is a first gear corner. Piquet seems to be out of the race. Nelson Piquet, world champion. That means neither Lotus is going to finish this race because only one of them started, Piquet, and he seems to be out. Now, can Prost do anything about Berger this lap? Coming up to lap 6. He's showing him the nose of his McLaren. Berger hugs the left, tucks into the right. But Prost is wearing him. Not that Gerhard Berger is going to be rattled. And there's Nigel Mansell in the background. Now, the gap between Prost and Mansell is about 4 seconds. That's all. That's where Patrick Tambay went off in the Lola a couple of years ago. This is Lowe's hairpin, the old station hairpin. Alessandro Nannini has not gone past us. Eddie Cheever has moved up into 6th position with Alio in 7th place. Through the tunnel go Berger and Prost. This is the battle for second. The gap between them and Ayrton Senna is now something like 7.6 seconds. So James is absolutely right. There is no doubt about the fact that Berger is holding Prost up. And Prost desperately wants to get past.
Yes, he's starting to look a little bit impatient, Prost. Now, as they come round, Senna leads round the Rascasse. Over 8 seconds clear. Berger's doing just the job for him that he wanted. He's holding Prost back. But Prost now needs to be closer to come out onto the pit straight because he had a look on the previous lap. This is one of the few possible passing spots. There is no such thing as an easy passing spot in Monaco.
And the gap between Senna in the lead and Berger in the Ferrari in second place is now 9.4 seconds. Very soon, Ayrton Senna is going to be able to ease off, having built up a substantial cushion. Berger second, Prost third, Mansell is fourth, Alboreto is fifth, Nannini is sixth, Patrese is seventh, Warwick is eighth, Palmer is in 9th position, and Cheever is in 10th place. And while you watch, that's Gabriele Tarquini going out in the Coloni Ford. So Gabriele Tarquini out on lap 7. Nelson Piquet is out of the race. And Prost is dropping back a bit. One of the big problems here, which could particularly affect the V8 engine cars and the Judd ones in particular, is that if you get too close to the car in front, you are denied cooling air for your radiators, and the critical temperature, certainly as far as the V8 engines are concerned, is about 105 degrees, and if it goes above that, it can rocket away, and you can be in real trouble, particularly if any rubbish goes in the car. And there you see Senna. That's the gap you saw as Senna took La Rascasse. Now he completes his 7th lap and goes into his 8th. He's very nearly at 1/10 distance. And he's just gone round the fastest lap of the day by Ayrton Senna, 1:29.719, which is about 3 seconds off Prost's 1986 lap record. And Senna will, as ever, know exactly what the score is, because the radio system that McLaren have is absolutely superb. That's the gap. You saw the completely clear track behind Ayrton Senna going into the tunnel. Senna is 28 years old, and he is a quite amazing individual. The way he applies himself to his racing, and the dedication and the time and the trouble. He served a hard apprenticeship with Dick Bennett in Formula 3 when Senna was British champion. And the other evening, they took 4 hours after practice to debrief. Senna telling his team exactly what he wanted done to the car for practice the next day. Well, it certainly seems to be paying off. He's coming through now to complete his 8th lap, which is a whisker over 1/10 distance. The gap between himself and Gerhard Berger is now nearly 11 seconds. Senna up to Sainte-Devote. Now up the hill. Now look back and see if you can see Alain Prost. Well, you see, Senna has got the whole length of the approach to the Hotel de Paris as he goes round the left-hander and into the right-hander between him and Prost. There's confirmation of that fastest lap time, 82.9 miles an hour. Doesn't sound very quick here, but when you consider that there is hardly a single straight stretch at Monaco, it is an astounding speed. And Alain Prost will need to look to his laurels. Last year, Keke Rosberg, who had been in the McLaren team with Alain Prost, said, I, Keke Rosberg, when I joined McLaren, was confident that I was the fastest and best driver in the world. But Alain Prost soon proved me wrong, and, said Keke Rosberg, Ayrton Senna will find the same thing. Well, it isn't happening. Senna was in pole position in Brazil and San Marino and here at Monaco. He fought his way up from last to second in Brazil before he was excluded. He won in San Marino, and look at him now. He is 13 seconds ahead of Alain Prost, who is still boxed in behind Gerhard Berger as Senna completes his 9th lap. And of course, with the way Senna is being able to drive, he's not putting any real stress on the car, which means to say that it's enhancing the reliability of the already very reliable McLaren Honda. With Berger now 11.7 seconds behind Ayrton Senna here, the race leader. Prost 1.5 seconds behind Berger in 3rd place. Mansell is still 4th, leading the 3.5 litre runners. He's still ahead of Michele Alboreto, who is in 5th position. Nannini is 6th and the last potential point scorer at the moment. Riccardo Patrese in the 2nd. Williams Judd is in 7th place. Derek Warwick is still 8th. Palmer is still 9th. Boutsen is 10th. Alio is 11th. De Cesare is in 12th place. And it would be very nice, I must say, if we could have a look at some of the other runners instead of Ayrton Senna, good as he is. There's a big crowd here as ever. Something like 100,000 people come to Monaco to throng the Principality. They were pouring in from very early this morning to add to the substantial numbers that were already here. This is Senna completing lap 10 over 1/8 distance in this 78 lap race. And the fastest lap that we have so far is Ayrton Senna, and he's going faster still, notwithstanding the fact that he's got this very secure lead. He's just gone round in 1:28.5, which is just 2 seconds slower than the lap record held by Prost.
Yes, 13.5 seconds clear Senna is, and he'll be anxious to build that lead up as much as he possibly can, while Prost is still stuck behind Berger, because he knows that he's got a potential battle on his hands as and when Prost can get through. So Senna will, at the moment, be going as fast as he can with reasonable caution and due care and attention to the mechanical side of his machinery, wanting to build up as much of a cushion as possible.
If you are feeling frustrated at only seeing Senna, I can only say that you're not half as frustrated as I am, because I know that behind this apparently sole runner here at Monaco, Berger has got Prost now closer to him than he was before. There's only 4/5 of a second in it. Nigel Mansell is 4 seconds behind Prost in 4th position, just ahead of Michele Alboreto 5th, who is 2 seconds ahead of Nannini in 6th position. Nannini is 1 second ahead of Patrese, who is 7th, who is 3 seconds ahead of Warwick in 8th place. Jonathan Palmer, who drove an absolutely brilliant practice lap to take 10th position on the grid ahead of Nelson Piquet, the world champion, is still in 9th position. And Palmer in the Tyrrell, which it is freely admitted, is still not handling as well as it should do, despite the substantial work they've done on it. And Hello is going extremely well. And Hello, there are some other people in the race. Here they are. And we're looking at one of the Lolas pursued by Andrea De Cesaris in the Real. And Andrea De Cesaris has covered himself in anything but glory here at Monaco. He was fined $15,000 on Thursday for having a battery changed on the course by his mechanics, which of course is not only illegal but extremely dangerous, and having rammed Gerhard Berger's Ferrari in the tunnel, allegedly because De Cesaris did not see the yellow flags, which wouldn't surprise anybody who follows motor racing, but he stoutly denied it, but was fined $5,000 for his trouble, a sum of $20,000 altogether. And in the short season that we've had already, Andrea De Cesaris has totally destroyed 2 of these extremely pretty Gustav Brunner designed Real cars. And as you watch Andrea De Cesaris, who is in 12th place chasing Alio and followed by Sala, that's Sala in the Minardi, I can tell you that there are strong rumours here in Monaco that Gustav Brunner, the talented Austrian designer of the Real who left Ferrari, is going to Zakspeed next year. So this is the battle then between Philippe Alliot, Sala there, and they're sandwiching Andrea De Cesaris. And Prost has just passed Gerhard Berger, and it's been missed. I'm sorry, I'm not in charge of the cameras, but I can tell you that there is a change for 2nd position, because Alain Prost has moved up into that place, and he's now something like 15 seconds behind Senna. Will he be able to catch his teammate and do something about consolidating his World Championship lead?
Well, that is the open question. Senna had, in fact, the last 2 laps just eased his pace a little bit, probably thinking that his 15 seconds now was adequate, but he'll have to have a rethink now. He'll be able to watch Prost's lap times behind him and see exactly how he has to respond. So Prost, for the first time, has got a clear road in front of him, and now we can wait and see what Prost can do about Senna, if anything.
There's Alessandro Nannini, who is still in 6th position in the very pretty and extremely effective Ford DFR-powered Benetton, coming up to La Rascasse. Senna is on his 13th lap now. Now we're waiting for Alain Prost to go through. Well, Prost goes through and Berger ahead of him, so the battle continues. Senna leading, Berger in 2nd place. 0.3 of a second behind Berger is Prost, then Mansell still 4th, Alboreto still 5th, Nannini, and there he is in 6th position. So you're looking at Alessandro Nannini being chased by Eddie Cheever. There was Eddie Cheever, now going down to Lowe's. That's Eddie Cheever. And from Lowe's down to the Portier, And we're on lap 14. Long, long way to go. Into the tunnel yet again. It's very warm here, very demanding for the Judd engines, unless that overhead has been overcome. Eddie Cheever, of course, is a long, long way back. But Patrese, who is in 7th place, is being chased by Warwick. And there is the 6th man, Alessandro Nannini. Lap 15, Senna has completed it. In 2nd position, it's still Berger. There's terrific scrap. I wish we could see it between Berger for 2nd and Prost for 3rd position. 4th is still Nigel Mansell. 5th is Alboreto. 6th, and here he is Alessandro Nannini. And Senna is leading Berger by 17.5 seconds. Berger half a second only. 0.5 of a second ahead of Alain Prost. Mansell, 2 seconds behind Prost. Alboreto, 3 seconds, 3.8 seconds behind Mansell. Then Nannini, here he is. And Patrese in 7th place. You might just see Riccardo Patrese come into the pit. There he is, as Nannini plunges down the hill, past the Hotel Metropole on his left, round the Mirabeau turn, down to Lowe's. Jonathan Palmer is still in 9th position. He's lapping in about 1 minute 31 seconds. That's only 2 seconds slower now than Ayrton Senna, who has slowed his pace. But Berger, 17.5 seconds behind. There is no doubt at all about the fact that Berger, there it is. Now we see the battle for 2nd position, the Ferrari. 17.5 seconds behind Senna of Gerhard Berger. Prost. There is the double watch, and there's Mansell. Look how close Nigel Mansell is now. Mansell is taking advantage of the fact that Berger is holding up Prost to close on the Frenchman.
Yes, Mansell very relaxed this year and driving very well indeed. Pressure is off him a little bit from all those pole positions that he was getting last year, and he certainly seems very comfortable with it. And there is somebody's nose. I don't recognise whose.
I think I do. It looks very much like a Tyrrell nose to me. No, it's not. It is the tubby car, the Eurobrunn of Oscar Larrauri, the Argentinian. And he's not only got a broken nose, but he's got a broken suspension as well. And his teammate, Stefano Modena, did not start the Monaco Grand Prix because he was excluded on Thursday for failing to stop to have his car weighed when he was required to do so. So Larrauri out of the race. It's an awful race for Eurobrunn as well as for Lotus. But meantime, Gerhard Berger in 2nd place, Alain Prost in 3rd position on lap 16, and Nigel Mansell closing in 4th place with Michele Alboreto in the 2nd Ferrari in 5th place, are making a tremendous race for it behind Ayrton Senna, who's 17.5 seconds out on his own in front on lap 16 out of 78. And I'll tell you the gaps now as they complete the lap coming out of the Rascasse. Senna has gone through. He's lapping in 1:29.8. He's lapped everybody up to 15th place. Gerhard Berger goes through 17.7 seconds behind Senna. Prost is 9/10 of a second behind Senna. Mansell is 1.7 seconds behind Prost. Alboreto is 4 seconds behind Mansell, and here they come. Mansell, 4th. Prost, 3rd. Why can't he get past him, James?
Well, there just really isn't a long enough straight here to get properly lined up. And, for example, up the hill from to the Casino Square, it's all curved. You take a line through that, and it really is. If the driver in front of you doesn't make a mistake, you've either just got to wait, or else you've got to be ridiculously brave and take risks. There is no way round, and that's the problem, of course, that's going to face Nigel Mansell. He's holding on well to the two turbocharged cars in front of him, but it's going to be mighty difficult for him to pass if he can get himself in a position that is even to attack. Now, Prost is a little bit closer this time. No overtaking in this area around by the swimming pool, but he needs to be very close around La Rascasse because he wants to have a go past the pits into Saint-Devote. That is probably his best opportunity for passing on the circuit.
Yeah, and they're coming up to Nicola Larini in the revised Osella, which has been modified since Imola to make it legal. And there might therefore be a change if Larini holds up the Ferrari in second place and Prost in third, who's certainly in a challenging position now. There's Larini, there's Mansell in the background in fourth position, and the gap between Mansell and Prost is just 2.5 seconds. Hotel de Paris. Now, Larini in front in 17th place, going to be lapped.
Yes, and that's just what Prost didn't want him to do. Larini does the correct thing, very well mannered, pulls out of the way and lets people lapping him go by, but Prost, I imagine, would have been hoping that Larini might have got in the way a bit, caused a bit of bother, because that's the sort of opportunity that he needs to be able to get past Berger.
I say again that here at Monaco today we are not expecting any tyre changes. The Goodyear technicians are confident. They tell me today that the compound and the construction that they have is more than adequate to last the whole race, and they will not make a saving by changing tyres in order to get onto newer ones which give greater grip. This is the swimming pool, and you're looking at the battle for second place between Gerhard Berger, the Austrian, who's won 3 Grand Prix, 1 for Benetton and 2 for Ferrari, and Alain Prost, who has won a record 29 Grand Prix in his career. You see the signals going out. It's quite amazing that the drivers can see them and absorb the information, but they do. And Ayrton Senna is now 19.5 seconds ahead of this battle, and Mansell is 3.1 seconds behind it, and he's closing all the time. Very soon we're going to have a 3-car train as Berger and Prost close up on Ghinzani in the Zakspeed. His teammate Ben Schneider failed to qualify for all sorts of reasons. One of them was that he kept ramming the Armco. And now past Ghinzani, go. Berger, second. Prost, third. Soon it will be Mansell. There's Mansell in the background. Ghinzani politely moving over. A man who, despite whatever car he drives, seems to have trouble in finishing it, try as he may.
And it's very important now, as they start to lap the back markers, that Prost stays as close as possible to Berger, so that if there is any drama in the traffic, Prost is in the position to attack. Not close enough on this lap to do anything about lining up to pass Berger at Saint-Devote. And he is looking very stuck. The problem with Monaco is you can be following a car that may be as much as 3 seconds a lap slower than one's own, and if the driver in front uses his head and makes no mistakes, there's nothing you can do to pass him.
Yes, Prost is a very experienced campaigner. He will be saying to himself, I have no doubt, third place is better than no points for sticking my neck out. There's a long way still to go. Is the Ferrari going to be reliable? It hasn't invariably been reliable this year. Alboreto is still in 5th place behind Nigel Mansell, who is following Prost, who is there just behind Gerhard Berger, and Berger is now 19.5 seconds behind Senna. In 6th place it's still Nannini, 7th is still Patrese, 8th is still Derek Warwick, 9th is still Jonathan Palmer, 10th is Boutsen, 11th is De Cesaris, 12th is Sala, 13th is Alio, 14th is Dalmas, 15th is Gugelmin. Ghinzani has been lapped, as you know, and is in 16th place. Larini is in 17th position, and Larari, Capelli, Arnoux are effectively out of the running. And, of course, Nelson Piquet is out, as is Gabriele Tarquini. Out of the race so far, Nelson Piquet, Philippe Streff, Alex Caffey, Stefan Johansson, Gabriele Tarquini and Oscar Larrauri.
And a new fastest lap for Ayrton Senna. Considerably quicker than he's been going before, 1:27.6. And he now extends his lead nearly 22 seconds. Prost still not really showing any sign of getting past Berger. He had a look down the inside once at going into Saint-Devote, but wasn't really alongside. And that, into the Mirabeau they go. That is one other possible passing place. And there is Senna overtaking Gugelmin, lapping Gugelmin. And Senna would appear still to be pushing and to build up that big cushion so that if and when Prost can move into second place, he's got too tall a mountain to climb.
Yes, and Senna is probably not slowing because he's got a race rhythm going. It's very heartening, by the way, to say that after 20 laps there are no retirements from the first 15 places, and that's a pretty astounding statement to be able to make from Monaco. Now, I was saying that Senna will have his race rhythm. He won't want to disturb it because he will obviously be entirely happy with the way the car is handling. The tyres are gripping, the brakes are slowing, the gearbox is working. Remember that he's racing with a new gearbox because it was changed from the one that he used in the warm-up this morning. And Alain Prost, not that he'll be worrying about this right now because he's got more to occupy him than his relative position in the McLaren team with Ayrton Senna, chasing as he is chasing Gerhard Berger. You can see there the difference, just 0.4 of a second between Berger in second place and Prost in third. And you look at the enormously successful McLaren MP4/4 designed by Steve Nichols and his support team with technical coordinator Gordon Murray overseeing everything, the man who was with Brabham for so long. And they've produced this car as a winner straight out of the box. It won in Brazil, it won at San Marino, it's in the lead and in third place here at Monaco. There are people, gloomy people, who are not in the McLaren team, who say that they see 1984 all over again when Alain Prost and Niki Lauda won 12 out of the championship races, but perhaps even more so because we've now had three very different types of circuits at Brazil and Imola and Monaco, and this McLaren MP4 has dominated at all of them, due in no small measure to the overwhelming superiority of the V6 turbocharged Honda engine. Harvey Postlethwaite of Ferrari said to me yesterday that they thought they had done pretty well in developing the car over the winter. The problem, he said, is that Honda have raised engine technology to an entirely new dimension in the winter, and it's showing. Senna leading then, and he's on lap 23. He's leading by nearly 25 seconds. Still the battle for second place between Berger in the Ferrari and Prost in the McLaren rages. Still Nigel Mansell, understandably, can do nothing about it in fourth position, the scrap in front of him, because he has a power disadvantage and he will be aiming to keep plugging. Now, Prost is attacking again as they come out of the new chicane, down to the Tabac. He's now almost close enough if he's where he is now when they come out of the Rascasse, which they are approaching, and René Arnoux is in the way, as usual.
Yes, exactly. I think when they were sitting on the grid and they heard that Arnoux had stopped in the tunnel, there was a big sigh of relief from everybody. They thought that's one troublemaker out of the race, but to everybody's dismay, he's back in and he was, as usual, getting in the way. But Prost still not in a position to attack. He just can't get things lined up right to have a go. and he'll be beginning to get very frustrated. Senna now 26.5 seconds in front, and really things are looking bleak for Prost. But certainly the McLaren chassis is quite exceptionally dominant. Remember, of course, that Lotus also have Honda engines. They have the same engine, and at the previous race at Imola in Italy, that the two McLarens both lapped Piquet's Lotus. So there is a big chassis advantage, and an outstanding job McLarens have done.
Meanwhile, as they say, back in fourth place, Nigel Mansell is closing on Alain Prost third, the frustrated Alain Prost, because Mansell, when I just took the gap between them, was only 2.5 seconds behind Alain Prost, who is the car on the right now. There you see Mansell emerging from the new chicane, with Alboreto still running strong in fifth position, Nannini sixth, Patrese seventh, Warwick eighth. Swimming pool. Berger Ferrari, Prost McLaren, Mansell Williams, down to La Rascasse, first gear, 30 miles an hour. Tiny little short straight up, out of the second gear right-hander, up into third, fourth, fifth, sixth gear, over the line at 150 miles an hour, back into second gear for the 70 miles an hour plus Sainte Devote. Berger up the hill. And normally we are able to luxuriate in immaculate race presentation from Monaco. I am sorry to have to criticize from my position here, but I'm extremely frustrated, as I will have told you, to confirm that we are missing an awful lot. But Senna is out there still. This is the battle for second and third. Berger and Prost. And Nigel Mansell is definitely getting ever closer. The gap is 1.8 seconds now. I've said what I'm about to say many times in the past, but it bears saying again, and that is catching is one thing, getting past is another. There's Alboreto, there is Berger, there is Mansell, look at him.
But Mansell also has a problem, because remember we were talking earlier about the fact that the Judd engine still is running on the hot side. It's all pretty marginal. And of course, as he gets close to cars in front, he gets less air through his radiators, and the water temperature starts to climb again. His temperatures go up. So Mansell will have to sit back. He can't really afford to get in the position to attack and stay there for any length of time. And he'll be looking for a mistake or a mechanical failure to make up places, I would think, more than any heroic overtaking. Of course, added to that, he has considerably less power than the two turbos in front of him, so overtaking is a real problem for Nigel.
Don't ever let anybody try to say to you that Nigel Mansell has lost any of his formidable talent. There he is now. He was undoubtedly the fastest man in Grand Prix racing last year, and also the most successful, winning 6 Grand Prix, but not the World Championship. But look at him now. He is in a car which is giving away at the very minimum 50 horsepower to the ones in front, and that is a very substantial percentage. That is Ayrton Senna lapping Philippe Alliot, and Alliot is in 13th position, so Senna is going through the field with no problem at all. And of course, because he has this massive cushion of some 27 seconds between himself and Alain Prost, he's able to pick his time about where he passes and to be able to do it without danger. Berger, Prost, Mansell, second, third, fourth. Now, Prost is definitely dropping back, no doubt about it, and Mansell is right up with him in this immaculately handling, Patrick Head designed Williams Judd. And Nigel is supremely fit, totally relaxed, confident of his own ability, and Patrick Head said to him yesterday, you have to throw it about a bit, Nigel, to get the best performance out of it. And I don't know how seriously Nigel took him, but my goodness, he certainly is throwing it about a bit. Now, past the new Café de Paris, which is being rebuilt, round the Mirabeau turn, down to this wonderfully evocative site from Lowe's Hotel, the hairpin, the old station hairpin, down to the Portier and into the tunnel. Alboreto is still within sight of Mansell. There's Mansell, and Alboreto was just coming around the right-hander as Ayrton Senna goes through the swimming pool complex down to La Rascasse to complete shortly his 27th lap in this 78-lap race, and the battle for second bursts out of the tunnel through the new chicane. Ferrari, McLaren, Williams, and in the background the second Ferrari. This will be a heartening race thus far for Ferrari, because whilst they are not in the lead, they've got both the cars in the top 5 positions, and the order as Berger, Prost, Mansell go out of the Rascasse to complete their 27th lap is Senna, 24 seconds ahead of Berger, just ahead of Prost, just ahead of Mansell 4th, Alboreto is 5th, Nannini is 6th in the Benetton, Patrese in the second, Williams is 7th, Derek Warwick is still running well in 8th, ahead of Palmer in the Tyrrell, who is a superb 9th, Thierry Boutsen in the second Benetton is in 10th position, De Cesaris is 11th, Sala is 12th, Alio is 13th, 1 lap down, ahead of his teammate, Dalmas 14th, Gugelmin is in 15th place, Ghinzani is 16th, Larini running well in the old Osella is 17th, but Ivan Capelli in 18th position is 4 laps behind. And there go Ghinzani and the Tyrrell, Jonathan Palmer into Saint-Avold. That's Larini in 17th position. Here is the Zach Speed, and Jonathan Palmer swarming all over the car in front as Larini goes through. There's the Zach Speed. Larini, of course, has been lapped. And Jonathan Palmer, who loves this Monaco circuit, who finished 5th and the highest normally aspirated engined car last year, as I say, was a superb 10th position on the grid. Dr. Jonathan Palmer, helicopter pilot.
An ominous puff of smoke from the back of his car then, just as he went coming out onto the seafront. And certainly a good gutsy performance by Jonathan Palmer, which over the years we've certainly come to expect of him. The Zach Speed is not a very brilliant car at all. Jonathan, it's got enough power to make it very difficult for Jonathan to do anything about getting around him.
Yeah, you want to. I mean, Ghinzani is a lap behind him, but Jonathan will never... he's just in front of him, but he's a lap behind him, if you follow me. Jonathan Palmer going strong still in that 9th position, and Ghinzani in 16th place, but that doesn't mean to say that Jonathan won't want to scramble past and do something about Derek Warwick, who is 11 seconds ahead of him. So the 3 British drivers are all in the first 9 places. Nigel Mansell in 4th. And Mansell's dropped back a bit. The gap between Mansell and Prost is now 4.7 seconds.
And that just makes me wonder whether his water temperature, or his temperatures, oil and water, were starting to climb as he was getting close to those 2 cars in front of him, and it may be that in order to try and get the car to the finish, he's going to have to drop back and just hope to pick up places through other people's retirements.
And I don't think Nigel will be averse to doing that. He's failed to score any points yet. He had to retire in Brazil with that electrical problem which took him out, and he'd failed to finish. And now Palmer is showing Ghinzani, the obdurate Ghinzani, who, by the way, is in a turbocharged Zach Speed with considerably more power. And now Alboreto, as you look at Ghinzani and Palmer trying to lap Ghinzani yet again, there is the Real of Andrea De Cesaris, who looks as though, is he just... Well, if he's being push-started, he would be disqualified, so he will be out of the race. Now Senna's coming through as the Real is pushed out of the race, and there's Maurizio Gugelmin, followed by his teammate Ivan Capelli, as Ayrton Senna exits La Rascasse on his way to completing his 30th lap. And Prost has pulled away from Mansell. fourth and closed on Berger second again. Look back to track and you can see Alboreto now right up with Nigel Mansell. And it rather looks to me as though Alboreto, eating up the gap between himself and Nigel Mansell in fourth position, is soon going to take that place, which would put Ferraris in second and fourth places. Things looking good for Ferrari at the moment. Not as good as they are for McLaren with first and third. But Alboreto's got superior power with the Ferrari turbocharged V6 engine, and this is the place to exploit it. If he is with Mansell as they come out of Casino Square, he might take him on the way down to the Mirabeau. He's not close enough yet. And it'll be another lap, I think, because Nigel's not going to give way, and Alboreto won't get through there. He has to duck back.
Yes, the problem, of course, is the Casino Square is very much a wings corner. And there's Frank Williams. Watching the progress of his team. But through the Casino Square, of course, the Ferrari is in the slipstream, in the hole in the air made by the Williams, which means, of course, he gets less grip because his wings aren't working to full efficiency. And that gives, makes it very difficult to get into an attacking position down to Mirabeau.
While you enjoy this, just let me tell you again that the retirements include Nelson Piquet, Philippe Streff, Alex Caffey, Stefan Johansson, Gabriel Tarquini and Oscar Larari. And Ayrton Senna has now completed his 30th lap. He's on his 31st lap. The fastest lap that we have so far is Senna 1:27.6, which is exactly 1 second slower than Alain Prost's 1986 lap record in the McLaren tag with 4-bar boost. And that's an astonishing commentary on how the designers have managed to overcome a comparative power deficiency by improved handling and aerodynamics. All credit then to Steve Nichols and his team. And now Alboreto is really pushing Nigel Mansell, who is in fourth position. Michele Alboreto will be as anxious to get points here as Alain Prost will be to get past Berger, because Alboreto is very definitely having to play second fiddle to Gerhard Berger, his newly joined, last year that is, Ferrari teammate, up to the new chicane. Now to the back, the left-hander. And Nigel Mansell, of course, will be seeing that dodging, weaving red image in his mirrors to the left and right. But he won't be rattled. It's just a question of whether the car has got the performance. And I think Alboreto is just a whisker closer than he was on the previous lap as they come up to Saint-Devote again. And Alboreto is a demon overtaker at Saint-Devote. I've seen him get through some seemingly impossible gaps in the past, but he's not close enough now. Nigel Mansell got a better exit from the right-hander at Saint-Devote. He's got a gap between himself and Alboreto, and as they complete their 32nd lap, the race order is Senna leading by nearly 30 seconds, nearly half a minute now in a lap which is taking about 1 minute 26. So he's nearly a third of a lap ahead of Gerhard Berger, who is second. Prost is ever closer. This is the battle for fourth position. Williams, the Judd-powered Williams of Nigel Mansell, with the Ferrari in its wheel tracks. Alboreto fifth. Nannini still sixth. Riccardo Patrese is still seventh. Derek Warwick is still in 8th position. Palmer is still 9th. Boutsen is still 10th. Sala has been lapped in 11th place, and Philippe Alliot, his teammate, is 12th. And again, what a marvellous scrap this is. Two of the top men in Grand Prix racing, Nigel Mansell and Michele Alboreto. And Nannini closing.
Yes, exactly. Nannini is catching this battle as maybe Nigel slowing things down, defending his position. Oh, and look at that. Whoop! And that was naughty by Alboreto. I think he wasn't really in a position to do it, and he took Mansell off, and you'd have to say that Alboreto overextended himself there. And that's most unfortunate for Mansell. That looks like Mansell out of the race. At best, he will have stalled the engine by the look of it. We can't see from here what damage there is, and here we see it again. Now, Alboreto has been having a look there the last couple of laps, but it's not really an overtaking spot. He's very quick through the pool, but look, and then he locks up, and Mansell turns into the corner, and he clouts Mansell's back wheel, and that really was Alboreto's fault. But it does demonstrate just how difficult it is to overtake here.
Yes, and as Nigel Mansell sadly retires, whilst it is very easy to come to the wrong conclusions as an onlooker when you are not in the driving seat, there is no doubt in my mind that Nigel Mansell was on his racing line. He was perfectly entitled to turn in where he did. Frank Williams will be worried about where Mansell is. He won't know at the moment, I think, that he's out of the race, although Nigel may well have reported it on his radio. And Michele Alboreto was at fault, but be that as it may, Ayrton Senna still leads Berger and Prost. Alboreto now up into fourth position, but with Nannini getting closer, and Nigel Mansell with his helmet off, sadly talking to the photographer there. Nannini up in fifth position as Mansell's Williams Judd, what a forlorn sight that is craned away. And for the third race in succession, Nigel Mansell will score no World Championship points. What a sad contrast to his 1987 dominant form. And it's no fault of his. But there goes the Ferrari up into Sainte-Devote of Michele Alboreto. And a look at his car indicates that there's no problem, except from Alboreto's point of view, that getting larger in his mirrors all the time is the flying Alessandro Nannini, who is really reveling in the fact that he has a car in which he can display his considerable talent. And the car is the Benetton Ford, V8 Ford engine, the new DFR, which has proved to be very reliable at San Marino, and the Ford technicians are getting more power out of it all the time, and Nannini is using all of it. Into the tunnel goes Michele Alboreto in fourth place on lap 35. Race order, Senna 30 seconds ahead of Berger in second place. In third position, Prost. Fourth, Alboreto. Fifth, Nannini. Sixth, Patrese in the second Williams is now up into the points. Riccardo Patrese, who won here at Monaco in a Brabham in 1982. Derek Warwick is only one place off getting a point. He's in seventh position. Palmer is going superbly in eighth place, the man who was fifth last year. Boutsen is ninth. Sala is 10th. And Thierry Boutsen in ninth place has been lapped. You're looking at Ayrton Senna, the race leader, as he goes out of the portiere from the sunlight into the darkened tunnel, which is lit by arc lamps at the point where he is now. And it's incredible to think that they go through that tunnel at 160 miles an hour, burst out of it at 165, brake for the new chicane here. And those numbers mean in the lead, number 12, Senna, second, number 28, Berger, third, number 11, Prost, fourth, number 27, Alboreto, fifth, number 19, Nannini, and sixth, number 6, Riccardo Patrese. Race leader, Ayrton Senna.
Well, over 30 seconds to the good now, Ayrton Senna, 31.5 seconds in the lead, and it's beginning to look as if Prost is going to have to concern himself with trying to capture second place and be satisfied with second. I think Senna has now got too big a lead for Prost to be able to do anything about it.
Yes, and it is extremely unlikely that anything will go wrong with the car or that Senna will put a wheel wrong. This young man, here he is coming down to the Mirabeau, 28 years old. He's been racing for 19 of his 28 years, would you believe? First of all, as a kart champion in Brazil. He finished second in the kart world championship 2 years in succession, and it was one of the great regrets of his career that he wasn't able to become world champion before he moved up into Formula Ford and became double British champion in 1981. He's closing up now, is Ayrton Senna on Jonathan Palmer, who is in 8th position and about to lap him. This is almost half distance because we are now on lap 37 out of 78. And as I was saying, Ayrton Senna, having become double British Formula Ford champion in 1981, moved up to Formula Ford 2000, won the British and the European championships in 82. Then with the Dick Bennett's West Surrey Racing Formula 3 team became British champion in 1983, to Toleman in 1984, and there was that memorable race here at Monaco where Ayrton Senna thought he had won when he passed Prost on the line in the shortened race because of rain, but took second place. Now, look at this. There's Berger with Prost behind him and two cars in front to lap, one of which is Maurizio Gugelmin, as Sala tours past me in the Minardi. Now, this is going to be interesting at Saint-Avold. It's Philippe Alliot, Gugelmin, who are going to be lapped by Berger, who is second, and Prost, who is third, and they're being followed by Capelli.
And that looks like the end of the race for Sala, but what's much more important is what's happening with the Ferrari and the McLaren. They've got one more car to lap out of this group. And it's Philippe Alliot in the Lola, who is quite quick and not normally noted for being helpful to people when he's being lapped. Well, the marshals have shown him the blue flag. That's to warn him that he's got quicker cars coming up behind. So he's been alerted. And Prost is doing absolutely the right thing at the moment. He's keeping as close as he possibly can to Ferrari, because this is probably the best, or some problems with that mark are certainly his best chance of getting past the Ferrari.
Let's see if he can do it. There are the two marches. Incidentally, Capelli in the second one is 3 laps behind his teammate Maurizio Gugelmin, who is taking to Formula One like a duck to water, doing a superb job. There's Gugelmin, yet another super Brazilian driver, joining Nelson Piquet and Ayrton Senna. And Alliot, who presumably is saying to himself, I'm doing the best I can. I'm on my racing line and it's up to them to get past me.
Yes, absolutely right. Well, he's going quick enough to fend them off, but of course now, over the start-finish line, the turbos have got a fair bit more power. And Berger has made it round the outside, and Prost has failed to make it through, so Alliot has put himself in the middle of the sandwich.
Which gives Gerhard Berger the opportunity to pull away. 37 seconds now behind Ayrton Senna, leading very convincingly indeed, as he has done since the lights turned to green, and we're now on lap 39 with the same number to go. Alliot moves over, and that is Nannini. Nannini at Saint-Avold, the man who was in 5th position behind Michele Alboreto, has spun to a standstill and out of the race because he is not allowed to be push-started. So Nannini joins the list of retirements. Look at this, here's the replay, smoking tyres, because he's got Riccardo Patrese past him and going through and up, therefore, into 5th position. Nannini stopped. There is his car being pushed away and out of the race now. Piquet, Streff, Caffey, Johansson, Tarquini, Larari, De Cesaris, Mansell, Sala and Nannini.
And that puts a bit of a question mark over Nannini, because remember at Imola 2 weeks ago, he made a bad error of concentration when scrapping away in the middle of the race, and that was another pretty much an unforced error. Now, there's no doubt about Nannini's speed and talent, but if he can't keep it on the island, that's no good to him at all. And Derek Warwick has moved up into a point-scoring position. So Derek Warwick having a pretty good weekend in general. And certainly a happy and relaxed man.
Yes, Derek Warwick, as you look at Berger and Prost and now race leader Senna. Derek Warwick, who's 5th equal in the championship, having scored 4 points in Brazil, as many as he scored in the whole of the 1987 season, is in the points here. 6th position at Monaco with half the race almost still to run. Ayrton Senna remorselessly driving on, and bad luck for Nannini and Benetton not only means good luck for Warwick and Arrows, who've moved up into the points, but also good luck for Tyrrell and Palmer, because Jonathan Palmer is now 7th and on lap 41 race order. Senna, as Nannini sprints across the road and back shamefacedly, I expect, to the pits to report to Peter Collins what happened. Senna leading by 40 seconds now, an enormous margin. Gerhard Berger in 2nd place, Prost just behind Berger in 3rd position. Michele Alboreto in the 2nd Ferrari is 4th. Patrese in the Williams up to 5th. Derek Warwick is in 6th position. 7th and lapped, of course, is Jonathan Palmer. 8th is Thierry Boutsen. 9th is Dalmas. 10th is Alliot. 11th is Maurizio Gugelmin. And there goes Ayrton Senna through the new chicane. This has been, thus far, and I would expect it to continue this way, an absolute copybook example of how to do it. Ayrton Senna has said publicly, I feel that with the McLaren Honda team, I now have a car which will enable me to exploit my talent. Now, he didn't mean that in a boastful way. Senna is a man who calls a spade, and he's done precisely that. He felt, obviously, that the Lotus Honda was not enabling him to go as quick last year as he could have done, and he's certainly grasping his chance with both hands in the McLaren Honda team.
Yes, and the good news, of course, for Senna is that McLaren have both the will and the technical and financial resources to give him pretty much anything that he asks for in terms of technical backup on the car. So, at the moment, a pretty comfortable, easy afternoon's work for Senna, courtesy of Gerhard Berger. We will never know what Prost could have done, whether Prost could have held him. He certainly made big strides overnight with the setup of the car, because 1.5 seconds slower than Senna in qualifying is pretty humiliating for Prost. But he was unhappy with the aerodynamic setup of the car yesterday. It couldn't be changed in the pits during qualifying. There was too much to do. But when changed overnight, as I said before, he was pretty much, they were pretty equal in the warm-up this morning. But the start was always going to be the critical thing at Monaco because of this almost insurmountable overtaking problem, and it certainly killed any chance of us having a race between the two McLaren drivers.
Yes, well, just to continue with the saga of Ayrton Senna, I was telling you earlier on about how he had finished 2nd here at Monaco in the Toleman in 1984. Then, amidst some acrimony and dissension and controversy, he left Toleman, allegedly having bought his way out of the contract, to join what he regarded as a better team, Lotus, and he was right at the time. And that is one of Senna's characteristics. If something needs to be done, he is quite ruthless about doing it if it is to his advantage. He moved to Lotus. He stayed with them for 3 years. He won 6 Grand Prix with Lotus. And then we suspected at the beginning of last year that he would be joining McLaren, and he apparently signed a contract quite early in 1987. But still, the battle for 2nd place rages, and Prost is once again attacking the Ferrari of Gerhard Berger, with Alboreto in 4th position.
And a very hard afternoon's work for Prost, because it's very hard work indeed to stay that close to another car for so long. Your vision is severely impaired, you can't see much through the back of the car in front. Your road holding is impaired by the hole in the air. The wings don't work as well, so the car slides about more. And but of course, from Prost's point of view, it has to be done, because his best chance of passing is interference from a back marker or a mistake from Berger. Well, Berger's looked pretty rock steady so far. He knows he doesn't have to hurry, because in fact, the sensible way to go about things is not to drive absolutely flat out. It's to drive very carefully, making sure you make no mistakes at all, don't miss any gears, because without that, there's not a lot Prost can do, as we've seen.
That is true is demonstrated by the fact that Ayrton Senna is consistently increasing the gap between himself and this battle for 2nd place, with Gerhard Berger concentrating on keeping second place rather than catching Senna in front of him. Now there's Larini in the Osella, and now Prost is going to go for it. He's in an attacking position, or he was as he came up to Saint-Avold, but they've got equal power as they go up the hill.
Yes, that's the old problem. The straight being slightly curved means that Berger can quite legitimately take a line on the straight, which makes it even more difficult. Prost was forced to have a look round the outside, and really that's a most unlikely situation. He soon ducked back in. The other possibility now, we've got slower cars coming up in front, and that will give some encouragement to Prost. But he must be feeling very, very frustrated.
If incidentally you can hear a torrent of excited German in the background, it is Heinz Prüller, who is the Austrian commentator, who, as you can imagine, is getting pretty wound up about Gerhard Berger's performance, his fellow countryman, who is following in the footsteps of the great Niki Lauda, the three-times world champion. Now Larini is holding up Berger, who has got Prost right behind him. Prost is third, Berger is second, Larini is well down the field. He is in 13th place, having been lapped twice. He's about to be lapped a third time. But in the confusion that's bound to happen now, this could give Prost his chance, and Berger will know it. Prost is close enough to get up to the place in Saint-Avold if he's lucky, but I don't think he will be.
So Larini's done the polite thing, but not what Prost wanted him to do. But Prost did say after the race at Imola, when he'd been chasing teammate Ayrton Senna, that when it came to the traffic, he was having trouble getting himself brave enough. He couldn't. He was having difficulty taking the risks he needed. In fact, he quite candidly, and Prost having a look now, but he quite candidly admitted he just will have to readjust his mental approach because he was not brave enough in the traffic to stand a chance of catching Ayrton. Berger, a little squirt past, and still no opening for Prost, but he's closer again this time. The chicane is not normally considered a place to be hitting the brakes. Again, the road is very narrow, and Berger can take a line, pretty much making it impossible for a following car to pass.
Let's see if he can do it this time, because he's got a clear track in front of him. They haven't got Larini as a problem this time, and Prost is certainly in a good attacking position as he comes up to La Rascasse out of the swimming pool complex of corners to complete lap 45 out of 78. Now, so it is out of La Rascasse in second, up from second to sixth, up to about 150 miles an hour, and Prost would have to get through on the inside here, but Berger will know it and will close the door, and he has done so. When I'm talking to Prost at the end of this race, as I expect to do, I am wondering what he's going to say. I suspect he is going to say there is just no way that I could get past Berger, who had comparable performance and was rightly and fairly occupying the racing line. But can he do it here? No.
Yes, and that's probably his best chance into Mirabeau, but he didn't really look as if he was going to do it then. He had a good look, but he was just too far back. And certainly Berger is not doing anything wrong. He's being entirely fair, but the nature of this circuit means that it's very easy to block, quite legitimately, if you want to.
To my shame, incidentally, when the San Marino Grand Prix finished, I failed to mention that Alain Prost, in the process of finishing as he did in the second position and earning 6 points, not only became the man who had scored more World Championship victories than anybody else, 29, but also had scored more points than anybody else. So Prost is now the top winner in Grand Prix history, the top point scorer in Grand Prix history. He's on his way to 4 points at the present moment, even if he doesn't wear Gerhard Berger down. And Prost currently has 400... hello, is this it? Is it passed on the outside? No, it's terribly difficult. I thought he was selling Berger a dummy there, trying to get past on the left to dodge through on the right, which is the normal passing position at Saint-Avold. But Berger, notwithstanding the fact that this is, quotes, only his 55th Grand Prix in comparison with Prost's 124th, was wise to that, stayed right where he was and left no room for the McLaren to pass.
Yes, and that is the one place into Saint-Devote, or probably the best chance, but of course as soon as Prost gets up alongside, Berger legitimately takes the inside line, and really there's no way that Prost's going to do it around the outside. And I should think that Prost is beginning to run out of ideas. He's had a look at just about every possible place on the circuit. He's just wiping his visor there, maybe getting a bit of oil and rubbish thrown up by the Ferrari, if it is. And there is a end of the race for one of the marches. That's Gugelmin having a look in the cockpit, taking the keys out of the ignition or whatever he's doing. End of the day for that march.
With a very flat spotted right rear tyre, I notice. I don't suppose for a moment that's the problem. But the new March is an extremely promising Adrian Newey design. They're still working hard on reliability, and for whatever reason, and I don't know what it was, they haven't got it in this race. So, as Prost continues to harry and harass Gerhard Berger for second place and show him the nose of the McLaren again at the Mirabeau, we are on lap 48 out of 78. And it is now Senna leading by nearly 50 seconds. Berger second, Prost third, there they are. Alboreto fourth in the second Ferrari. Riccardo Patrese in fifth position and really enjoying the reliability and the nimbleness of the Williams. Derek Warwick is still in the points in sixth place. Palmer is seventh and lapped. Boutsen is eighth. Alio is ninth. Gugelmin was 10th, lapped twice, but is now out. So Dalmas moves up. Prost is looking fit to have another go. And in 11th position is Nicola Larini, 2 laps down. Ghinzani is 12th, 4 laps down. And this is the real interest in the race. This unremitting top concentration scrap between the brilliant Austrian Gerhard Berger and the equally talented double world champion Alain Prost.
Prost having another look down the outside, but he's not going to do it that way. And Berger just won't leave that door open down the inside. And meanwhile, Senna is not really relenting at all. He's keeping the speed on up front. He's got an absolutely enormous lead, 50 seconds. Once again, Prost having a look, but he just can't get on terms. I think he's going to have to screw his eyes up. If he's going to get past, he's going to have to give himself a big overdose of bravery. Because there is no non-aggressive way of doing it. Unless, of course, you can persuade Berger to make a mistake. But Berger doesn't really look like making a mistake. He looks very comfortable. He's experienced enough to know that, as I said before, he doesn't need to be in a hurry. There's no rush for Berger. In order to hold his second place, he only has to make sure he makes no mistakes.
And as I said before, that is proved by the fact that Senna is constantly pulling away, notwithstanding the fact that his lap times of about 1 minute 29 seconds now are slower than his fastest at 1:27.6. So Berger is allowing Senna to get away in keeping Prost back. And Prost, I would imagine, Prost is actually fighting for 2 World Championship points. If the first 3 finish where they are now, Prost would still be leading the World Championship at the end of the Monaco Grand Prix from Ayrton Senna, but by only 1 point. If, however, he could get ahead of Gerhard Berger, he would be leading the World Championship by 3 points. However, this is all hypothetical. They are closing on the Benetton in front of them of Thierry Boutsen, who is in 8th position and has, of course, been lapped. But Michele Alboreto, meantime, is taking advantage of Gerhard Berger not going perhaps as quick as he could do to close up a bit on Alain Prost in third position. There's Boutsen in the Benetton, Berger in the Ferrari, Prost in the McLaren, and maybe we will see Alboreto. No, we didn't. Yes, we did. You just caught a flash of the Ferrari exiting the new chicane.
Yes, and Prost had dropped back a little bit then. He wasn't ready to pounce on any problems caused by Boutsen, but in fact there weren't, so it didn't matter. But that is the problem that faces him. He cannot afford to take any breathers in this race because he's got to be right there, ready to pounce on a mistake. So dropping back a couple of seconds, which would normally be a sensible way to go about things, is no good to him today.
Look for Alboreto. He's 6 seconds behind Prost. There's Prost, having passed Boutsen, as has Berger. Alboreto is 6.2 seconds behind Alain Prost and slowly closing. Fourth position, Alboreto. There is Prost. Patrese is 13 seconds behind Alboreto, who is in fifth position. Derek Warwick is still sixth. Jonathan Palmer is in seventh place and may well be in the points by the end of the race, as he was last year. And that would be a wonderful fillip for the Tyrrell team after the misfortunes they've had in Brazil and then San Marino. They need a psychological boost, and that would be a wonderful one for them. Now look for the Ferrari. There it is. See, Prost, I mean, it's so easy to think of things that might be the problem. It's extremely unlikely, but Prost's engine may be overheating a little as a result of running so close to Gerhard Berger, as a result of which he might have to decide from time to time to ease back a bit and let the engine cool down with an increased flow of air through the radiators as Riccardo Patrese closes up to Philippe Alliot. Nannini, incidentally, had a clutch problem and then a gearbox problem, and that's why he went out of the race. So perhaps his gearbox locked up as he went into Saint-Devote, where we saw him stop. Ivan Capelli in the march has been passed by Riccardo Patrese, and lapped, of course. And so now there goes the Lola with its 3.5-litre Ford DFZ engine, chased by the Judd-powered Williams of Riccardo Patrese in fifth place. Race order, lap 53 in the 78-lap race. Still a long time to go. There's still time for any of the top six to strike some sort of problem, and there is one. My goodness, back goes, that's Alliot. Alliot goes straight into the barrier, having hit the curb. Now, he's perfectly all right, no doubt about that, because the tyre wall will have absorbed the shock of the Lola. But Philippe Alliot, the forceful, thrusting driver from Formula 3000 and who used to drive in the Ram team and the Ligier team. Let's have a look at it again as Riccardo Patrese tries to take Alliot. I would have said that Alliot moved across much too soon.
Absolutely, that was completely out of order. Alliot just moved over on Patrese, and the only good result for Patrese was that Alliot ended up taking himself off rather than Patrese. But we'll have to see if Patrese survived without damage. And that was, there is Alliot, and I'm afraid he has a reputation for shunting, and that was naughty.
One way, of course, of testing your reflexes in life is to be a marshal in a situation like that. I noticed that the 4 or 5 marshals that were at the hit point where Alliot's Lola clouted the tyres were up and over the barrier behind them in less time than it takes to say it. And well done, too. The marshals, who do a normally unsung job, perform superbly. Now, watch Alliot move across. He clips, or rather Patrese's car clips Alliot through no fault of Riccardo's, and the nose of Alliot's Lola just misses Riccardo Patrese's head. Now, I'm looking at Patrese's car at the moment as Alliot goes straight on, thumps the tyre wall, his head sags forward. There are the marshals, and the car bounces back. I was looking at Patrese's Williams, and that is Philippe Alliot, helmet off, looking perfectly okay. A bit shocked, I have no doubt, and probably a bit stiff, where his legs probably flew up inside the monocoque. And that's two of his team supporters, the man with Hector on the back of his shirt. And Alliot, that means to say that Patrese has gone in and Jonathan Palmer is in 6th place. Now, that's the good news as a result of that accident. Ayrton Senna continues to lead in the McLaren Honda, and there he is coming up to Derek Warwick, who is in 5th place. Derek Warwick has moved up a place. Derek Warwick is now 5th. Riccardo Patrese, who was 6th, has been passed as a result of going into the pits by Jonathan Palmer, and so we have got 2 British drivers in the top 6 places, and now Ayrton Senna punches past Derek Warwick to lap him. Senna leading, maintaining his rhythm, keeping up his concentration on lap 54, and as you saw, the gap between Senna and Berger is now getting on for 55.0 seconds. A quite incredible margin, especially at Monaco. And it is a tribute. Incidentally, that flash of flame does not mean to say that Derek Warwick's Arrows was on fire. It's just a flash of flame from the turbocharger on the overrun as Warwick changed down for the right-hander at the Portier before going into the tunnel where he is now. And there, Prost is taking, he's done it. Prost has taken Berger. Well, I saw it happen as they went past me there, and Berger, having been lulled into a false sense of security by Alain Prost, and look at the way Prost is already streaking away from Gerhard Berger, which just shows how much the Ferrari was holding up the flying McLaren of Alain Prost. Now I think we've got some sort of a race on our hands. I can't frankly envisage that Ayrton Senna, who has got, let's look at it again, into Saint-Devote, and now out of it. Alain Prost had already taken the lead because he did it right in front of me, and our commentary box is about 200 yards before that point. But now Alain Prost will be straining every muscle to close the gap. He's gone 6 points for second position, chasing Ayrton Senna, his teammate, the leader, and we are on lap 56.
Yes, and it looked as if Berger missed a gear past the pits, which gave Prost his chance, and Prost is certainly going to have a go anyway. I think there's no real chance of him catching teammate Senna, but I'm sure he'll give it his best shot for a few laps anyway and see what Senna does by way of response. So Prost with a pretty clear road in front of him. So the 2 McLarens and the 2 Ferraris are the only cars on the same lap still. They've lapped the whole of the rest of the field.
And I am going to be keeping a very careful eye on lap times now. The fastest lap so far is that of Ayrton Senna in 1:27.6. But now that Prost has got away from Berger and has a clear track in front of him, we'll be able to see whether he is going to be able to go quicker than Ayrton Senna. If he is, he's not going to be able to go very much quicker, and Ayrton Senna, of course, would be able to respond. But Alain Prost would then hope, teammate though he is, that Ayrton Senna might have perhaps some little problem which would slow him up and enable Prost to close the gap. Now we're going to see this brilliant Frenchman, double world champion, winner of 29 Grand Prix, a record, and scorer of 421.5 points, a record at his very best. He is on now lap 57. There's Ghinzani out of the race yet again. Poor Ghinzani, when he was with Osella, he hardly ever finished. He had a brief time with the Toleman team and very seldom got the Toleman home. Then he went to Ligier with the same problem. Now he's with the Zakspeed team, and that means to say that both the Zakspeeds are out of the race. Well, Schneider never even started, but now Ghinzani walking home, ever cheerful. I suppose he's not unhappy about the fact that he has done some 53 laps, which is actually more than he's usually done. And there we are. Prost is now the fastest on the circuit.
So he's having a go. Senna hasn't yet responded, but he doesn't really need to. He's got bags of time. And of course, they're still lapping other cars. Patrese has rejoined. Lost a bit of time in the pits. And he's in 8th place now. So Patrese will be fighting to try and get back into the points after that rather unfortunate experience. And Senna has responded, 26.9. So Senna is new fastest lap for Ayrton Senna, and that must be exactly what it's intended to be, which is very demoralising for Prost. And that was just a little message from Senna to say, look here, I'm in charge around here. And I think Prost, having seen that, won't bother to take up the cudgels. I think he'll just secure his 2nd place by trying to get plenty of space ahead of... And Prost has gone quicker too, 26.7 for Alain Prost. So the two McLarens are putting on a little exhibition of their own.
I can imagine the knowledgeable who are watching this race wondering whether the fact that the two McLarens are now hammer and tongs at it for the fastest lap might stretch each other so much that one or the other would go out of the race. I think that is more than unlikely, because both drivers are enormously experienced and know exactly what the situation is, and they're handling two of the most reliable cars in the race. But there is no doubt at all that this superb radio system, which McLaren have between the pit and the radio, will have alerted Ayrton Senna to the fact that Alain Prost is now in 2nd place and putting up fastest laps, and I have equally no doubt that Ayrton Senna, as James said, in putting in that lap at 1:26.9 as he did, would in effect have been saying, try that one for size, Alain, because it just proves that I can go faster if I want to. So now on lap 59, the gap between Ayrton Senna in the lead and Alain Prost is 46 seconds. It was nearly 50 seconds between Ayrton Senna and Gerhard Berger when the Austrian was in 2nd place. It's now 46.9. Prost has just gone through to complete his 58th lap, and it's Senna leading very, very convincingly by 47 seconds. You're watching, by the way, Jonathan Palmer, who's driving one of the races of his life, in the points, in 6th position in the 017 Tyrrell, the car which after Brazil had to have an 8-inch spacer put between the engine and the gearbox to improve the handling. One of the reasons that Julian Bailey failed to qualify, sadly, for Monaco is that he was driving a short wheelbase version of the Tyrrell, which didn't handle as well as Jonathan Palmer's longer wheelbase version. Jonathan put his long wheelbase Tyrrell on the grid in a superb 10th position. He's now in 6th position in the points, and that's the first time that it's happened to Tyrrell this year, to the Tyrrell team. And if Jonathan Palmer goes on, as he is doing now, he's going to get at least 1 point, maybe more. Race order, Ayrton Senna leading McLaren Honda. Alain Prost 2nd, McLaren Honda. Gerhard Berger in the Ferrari 3rd. His teammate, Michele Alboreto, who, by the way, has only scored 2 points for a 5th place in Brazil thus far this season, is in 4th position. In the Arrows Megatron, Englishman Derek Warwick is 5th, ahead of Englishman Jonathan Palmer, that you're looking at now, in 6th position, with the 4 DFZ smoking a bit as he went round Saint Devos. Let's hope that's not trouble. He's a lap behind, as is Derek Warwick, the 4 cars, the 4 turbo cars. See the smoke coming from Palmer's Tyrrell? And Riccardo Patrese is 2 laps behind the flying McLaren. He is in 7th position. Yannick Dalmas is 8th. Thierry Boutsen is 9th. Nicola Larini soldiering on extremely well in the Osella. 3 laps behind is in 10th position. and in 11th place is Ivan Capelli, albeit 5 laps behind. So they're getting very, very spread out.
We'll just have to keep our fingers crossed for Jonathan Palmer, because his car's been smoking for quite some considerable time now, just at certain points, and hopefully it's not a serious problem and not losing enough to get him low on oil. So there is Prost, and McLaren's putting on a bit of a demonstration, sort of long-range battle. They can't see each other, but they, of course, have all the information to hand, courtesy of the radio and the pit board. Prost has now lost a fair bit of ground, and I think he's decided not to risk the machinery by a vain chase of Senna. He's going to look after it, and so he's driving to Berger behind him, as it were. Being easy through the traffic and secure those 6 points, which would, of course, if they finish as they are, still keep him in the lead of the championship.
By 3 points. They've been going now for an hour and 35 minutes in these grueling conditions. Although the sun is not actually shining, it's very warm here, I can tell you that, and in the cockpits it will be even warmer. And with 1 hour and 35 minutes behind them, they've still got 17 laps to go at roughly 1.5 minutes a lap. So, stamina is the name of the game. Prost has undoubtedly got it. Very fit, as of course is Senna, as of course is Dr. Jonathan Palmer. He knows what to do to keep fit, and he is now ahead of Alain Prost there on the circuit, but 1 lap behind him in the race, and shortly to be 2 laps behind him when Prost catches him and takes him again. But nevertheless, Jonathan Palmer is in 6th place. The order: Senna leads, Prost 2nd, Berger 3rd, Alboreto 4th, 14 seconds behind Berger, incidentally. Warwick has been lapped and is in 5th place. Palmer has been lapped and is in 6th place. Patrese has been lapped twice, is 7th. Dalmas also lapped twice 8th. Boutsen 9th, lapped twice. Larini 10th and Capelli in 11th position. The race continues, and Dalmas has just passed Riccardo Patrese. He is now in 7th place. Jonathan Palmer lets Alain Prost through, unlike Philippe Alliot, who did not let Riccardo Patrese through. And since the circumstances were very similar in that neither driver, Alliot nor Palmer, had anything to lose by letting the man behind them pass, it's an indication of the fact that Jonathan Palmer is not only an extremely good driver, but an extremely well-mannered one. Ayrton Senna is now on lap 63. Nothing can stop him now except a reliability problem or someone getting in the way. And of course there aren't so many people left to get in the way now. As ever, the Monaco Grand Prix has proved a race of attrition, because 26 cars started this race. Really only effectively running now are 9 cars, because out of it have gone world champion Nelson Piquet, the Frenchman Philippe Streff in the vastly improved AGS, which has been going jolly well in practice. Alex Caffey out, as you saw, when he hit the barrier at the very first corner in the new Dallara. Stefan Johansson disappeared very quickly in the Ligier, as did Gabriel Tarquini in the yellow Coloni. Then Oscar Larrauri out in the tubby Eurobrunn, just as he was entering the tunnel. Andrea De Cesaris has disappeared from the fray in one of the Rials that was left after he's destroyed 2 this season. Nigel Mansell, of course, badly taken off through absolutely no fault of his own when he was in a fighting 4th position, and I think might well have finished in 3rd position in the race. Luis Perez Sala, the Spaniard, out in his Minardi. Alessandro Nannini, who we heard had clutch trouble and a gearbox problem. Maurizio Gugelmin, who we saw parked on the hill on the way up to the Hotel Paris. Piercarlo Ghinzani walking back, he's just about reached the pits now. And Philippe Alliot out when he hit the Mirabeau corner tyre wall with a colossal thump. in trying to stop Riccardo Patrese from passing him, and I'm glad to say, nevertheless, that he's quite all right. As obviously is Ayrton Senna through the tunnel at some 160 miles an hour in his McLaren Honda, on his way not only to his second Grand Prix victory in succession for McLaren, having won at San Marino, but his second successive Monaco Grand Prix victory, because last year he won in the Lotus Honda, the first time that a car with active suspension had ever won a Grand Prix, and the last but one at the moment, because although Senna went on to win in Detroit, a similar street race, he won no more from Lotus Honda. Lotus have ceased to use the active suspension, although the Williams team use a reactive suspension, which is a not dissimilar type. And there's Yannick Dalmas, chased by Derek Warwick. Warwick, who is in 5th position. Dalmas, who is a lap behind, in 7th place. Yannick Dalmas in the Lola, this young Frenchman who is an ex-motorcycle enduro rider and has taken to Formula One extremely well, having done well in Formula 3000 last year. Won 2 races in the Formula 3000 Championship last year. Moved up to Formula One and took 5th place in the... He drove in 3 Grand Prix last year and took 5th place in Australia. Now there's Larini in the yellow helmet, and it really does look as though the venerable Osella, with its equally venerable Alfa Romeo-based V8 engine, is going to finish a race. But having said that, it'll probably retire. So there's Larini, who's driving an immaculate race. We've seen him move over time after time, as he should do. He knows he's in a slow car. His ambition will be to finish the Monaco Grand Prix. This ex-Formula 3 champion of Italy failed to finish in Brazil. He was excluded from the San Marino Grand Prix because of a technical infringement of the rules. They've revised the car. Antonio Tomeni, the ex-Ferrari engineer who is now designing for Osella, has made the necessary changes to make the Osella legal. And just as Tyrrell will get a tremendous fillip if Jonathan Palmer finishes where he is now in 6th position, so would the Osella team if Nicola Larini even finished. There's Derek Warwick. He's come good this season, having had a pretty dreadful 1987. This ex-Formula Ford European champion who drove for Renault, who in his career has had 2 second places but no wins. Looks as though he is going to finish in the points for Arrows for the 2nd time this year.
Yes, and that would be very good for Derek. He soldiered away. The car last year was pretty unreliable, or rather their engine was particularly unreliable, but it seems to be a lot better this year, and Derek certainly deserves more success than he's had as yet. So let's keep our fingers crossed that it isn't just today that he can go on and finish, and that the car will continue to do that during the season.
Well, Warwick ahead, and Larini will not be unhappy to be lapped by Derek Warwick, because the Osella is notoriously thirsty, and it means to say that Larini would have to do 1 lap less than he might have done. And bearing down on Larini in the background is Riccardo Patrese. We're starting to see a bit of a race now, because Derek Warwick in 5th position is being caught by Riccardo Patrese, but even if Patrese passes him, Warwick that is, he would still have to catch another lap up, because he's 2 laps behind the Arrows Megatron, number 17 of Derek Warwick. The Arrows team based in Milton Keynes, about to have a gigantic extension to their factory. So this is going to help a bit if Derek Warwick finishes in 5th position. Up the hill from Saint-Avold, and he'll be doing about 150 miles an hour as he approaches the left-hander. And that is Senna! Sensation! On lap 67, Ayrton Senna goes out of the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix at the Portier. For the second time this year, Brazilian Ayrton Senna is out of a race. He failed in Brazil when he was excluded, having fought his way up to second place. He won at Imola for the San Marino Grand Prix, and now he's lost a win here at Monaco.
Well, I hope we get to see what happened. They should hopefully have an action replay, because I can't believe that Senna could have thrown this away. I suspect, my guess would be that something went wrong with the car. He wasn't under any pressure. The weakness of the McLaren this year, if one could call it that, has been the gearbox. But certainly looks as if he'd slithered into trouble there, because you could see the marks on the road from his tyres. Now we do need to see exactly what happened. It has not been a brilliant broadcast by the local TV company. Now the marshal's removing the stricken car. The front wing has gone. But what we need to, we don't need to see that. What we need to see is how it all came about. And that is the new inherited leader, Alain Prost. So Prost, now he is some 11 or 12 seconds ahead of Berger, and with a fair bit in hand. So it's all pretty easy for Prost. And look at the amount of oil on his rear wing there, and that's of course from hounding Berger throughout the race. All the vapour and oil and rubber then comes up off the track, and dust and dirt, which then sticks to the oil. So he would have had that all over his visor. But still, we would like to know what happened to Senna.
Indeed we would. It was, I can only assume, some kind of an off by the fact that his front wing was totally missing. But what bitter gall for Ayrton Senna, who had driven a faultless race as far as we know. As James has said, we're suffering from the disadvantage of not being able to see what happened to the McLaren. But for whatever reason, Ayrton Senna, having led all the way from the green light to the conclusion of the 66th lap out of 78, is out of the Monaco Grand Prix. And the little Frenchman, Alain Prost, is on his way to his 30th victory. And not only that, but to his 4th Monaco Grand Prix win in 5 years, a quite incredible record. You will have noticed that I've been very careful to say Alain Prost has scored more championship points. I was very careful not to say more world championship points, because some of the points that he scored, 6 of them to be exact, were disallowed, not because of any infringement of technicalities, but simply because of the way the rules are organised. And if he scores 9 points, as he is on his way to doing now, he will have become also not only the most point scorer of all time, but the most world championship points of all time. But there's interest behind, because now the Ferraris are 2nd and 3rd, because Berger is back into the 2nd place that he held for so long. Michele Alboreto is 18 seconds behind Berger, and Berger, by the way, is 12.5 seconds behind Prost, so Prost can't afford to ease up too much. In 4th position now is Derek Warwick, who's therefore on his way to 3 points. Ayrton Senna out of the race altogether. Jonathan Palmer is in 5th place. Yannick Dalmas, for the 2nd time in his career, is on the way to scoring World Championship points, or a World Championship point to be pedantic. But Prost is the man, this cool, calm, tremendously experienced and enormously likeable Frenchman, who I have never heard anybody say a harsh word about. He is ever cheerful, he is ever courteous, he is ever helpful. And to someone in my position, the cooperation that I've always had from Prost is very much appreciated. So you see there are 8 laps to go, and Prost as Senna, oops, that looks like Boutsen to me, who had a puncture incidentally. No, it's not, it's Dalmas, it's Dalmas's car, through into the tunnel, and Dalmas, I remind you, in 6th position. Obviously his tyres are getting a bit worn, or he hit a patch of oil. There he goes, through the new chicane. And the difference there, 14.2 seconds between Prost, the leader, and there is Riccardo Patrese, who has unlapped himself from, I'm sure, an unworried Derek Warwick as Boutsen goes through. And so now let's get up to date with the race positions on this, the 70th lap in this 78-lap race. Alain Prost leads. And by the way, Ayrton Senna still has the fastest lap, 1:26.3, and there is absolutely no need for Alain Prost to extend himself to challenge that. Prost in the lead is 12 seconds ahead of the Ferrari of Gerhard Berger, 31 seconds ahead of the third-placed Ferrari of Michele Alboreto. Fourth is Britain's Derek Warwick in the Arrows Megatron. Fifth, as he was last year and lapped, is Jonathan Palmer. Sixth is Yannick Dalmas, also lapped. Seventh is Riccardo Patrese, now on the same lap as Dalmas and Palmer and catching them. And eighth position is Thierry Boutsen, also on the same lap. Nicola Larini is in ninth position now, and Capelli, 5 laps behind, is in 10th place. Well, the mice have been at the machinery in the Monaco Grand Prix, where the drivers have not made mistakes and taken the cars off. A large number of retirements, as ever. Just 9 effectively running, because Capelli, 5 laps back, is totally out of the running. Through the tunnel again goes Alain Prost, thinking whatever thoughts drivers think in his position.
Well, at this stage, he's very comfortable with his situation with Berger. He's capable of going quicker if he wants to, but he's not going to need to. His mind will be totally occupied with looking after the machinery, making sure he does nothing that could hurt or overstrain the car. He'll be pretty tired himself because he had such a hard race behind Berger for so long. But he's a tough little fellow, and he's very strong, very, very fit. And his only concern now will be to get the car to the line in one piece. He's going to be careful in what relatively little traffic there is around now when lapping other cars. There's no hurry, there's no reason for him to take any risks. And his concentration will be 100% because he knows only too well that this race, incidents and dramas traditionally happen right up to the checkered flag. So he's got to stay absolutely sharp and on his mettle to get the car to the line.
And if those of you, if there are any of those of you at home who are saying, why on earth don't they let us know what happened to Ayrton Senna, I can only say, I am sorry, we don't know. All we know is that we saw what you saw. Senna stopped out of the car, the front wing missing, which obviously means contact somewhere, but why the contact happened and exactly where it happened, except that it must have been somewhere between Lowe's hairpin and the right-handed portiere, I don't know. We've had no messages here. Needless to say, if we get one, when we get one, we'll pass it on immediately. But on lap 72, in the 78-lap race, which has certainly been an interesting one, with Nigel Mansell being thrust out of contention, with Alliot going very rapidly indeed into the tyre wall at the Mirabeau, with Ayrton Senna disappearing from the lead that he held so long to have it inherited by the car that you're looking at in the background. Alain Prost, who is gaining in the lead on Thierry Boutsen to lap him for a second time. Boutsen in 8th place. Sadly, the Benettons have disappointed again. They have been so close to success this season, but out of the race went Alessandro Nannini with that clutch and gearbox problem to join the many other retirements which preceded him. The best that Thierry Boutsen can do is 8th at the moment, and he's about to be lapped for the second time by race leader Alain Prost, who will be watching very, very carefully for the right place to pass. And Capelli, whose teammate Gugelmin has long since retired, moves over in the tunnel, lets Prost through, lets Boutsen through, and Alain Prost, race leader, is coming up to complete his 73rd lap. And he's leading by some 18.5 seconds. see he's not making any effort really to rocket past Thierry Boutsen, because that radio, the earphones inside his helmet, there's the second place man, will be appraising him of what the situation is. But I'm going to take the gap as they go past my point now. Alain Prost completes the lap. The gap was 18 seconds between himself and Gerhard Berger, who will similarly know exactly what the score is. Prost is up and round the left-hander at the Hotel de Paris. Past me goes the Ferrari. And the gap is 19.5 seconds. So notwithstanding the fact that Alain Prost is taking his time about getting past Thierry Boutsen, he is still extending the gap between himself and the second place Ferrari of Gerhard Berger, who is 16 seconds now ahead of Michele Alboretto's car. Ferrari are second in the Constructors' World Championship at the moment, and they're on their way to scoring 10 points for second and third positions. If everybody finishes where they are now, McLaren will still, of course, be very much in the lead in the World Championship, but with a smaller gap, a minusculely reduced gap. The gap was 14 points between them and Ferrari when this race began. If the first three cars stay where they are now, the gap will be down to 13 points between constructor leaders McLaren and second position team Ferrari, with Lotus on only 9 points and no finishes in this race, a poor third with a mere 9 points. But there's Berger. He's driven extremely hard the whole race. Prost has now lapped Boutsen twice. Boutsen in 8th position, 2 laps down. Alain Prost is on his 75th lap, so laps 75, 76, 77 and 78. 4 laps, including the one he is on, each of 2.07 miles. That's the distance which separates Alain Prost from the 30th winning checkered flag in his career. By far the most successful racing driver of the current era, and in terms of Grand Prix victories and points, ever. A man who has already gone down into history with drivers of the caliber of Tazio Nuvolari, Caracciola, Rosemeyer, Fangio, Jackie Stewart, Jim Clark, and James himself, and the great champions of the past who preceded him. But Boutsen closing up a bit now on Prost. I wonder, well, I'm not looking for sensation, James, but is there anything significant?
No, I don't think so. I think it would appear to me that Prost is just easing up. He's very nearly 20 seconds ahead of Berger. They're running out of laps, and he just, I think, is looking after the car mechanically. There is the Ferrari. And Prost now 3 laps to go.
Yeah, and he's lapping about 0.2 of a second slower than Gerhard Berger, so there really is nothing in it. Round the Hotel de Paris, the right-hander there, plunge down the hill to close up on 4th place man Derek Warwick to lap him. So Prost will have lapped everybody up to the 3rd place man Michele Alboretto in the very near future. The gap remains now between Prost the leader and Gerhard Berger from Austria in the Ferrari. And I think we have to call him the Ferrari team leader now, because he has stamped his superiority over Michele Alboretto on the race cards in Brazil and San Marino, and now here at Monaco. And Derek Warwick looks in his mirrors and he will say, oh ho, a McLaren. So it may well be that Derek, knowing what the situation is, will just move over on the approach to Saint-Devote, which they come to after the right-hand hairpin first gear corner at the cafe, at the restaurant at La Rascasse. That's it in the background now. Is Derek going to move over and let the McLaren through as it completes its 76th lap and starts its last lap but one? Derek does move over. This is the penultimate lap with Alain Prost on his way to a brilliant 4th victory. One has to say, to be honest, an inherited victory, a victory by default of Ayrton Senna for whatever reason, and we still, I'm sorry to say, do not know what that reason is, but nevertheless, the first man to see the checkered flag is the winner, and it shows every sign of being Alain Prost at the present moment. A man who is without peer at getting a car home, and without peer at being able to charge when the need is there. Just remember what he did 2 weeks ago in Imola, when he closed the gap between himself and Ayrton Senna to only 2 or 3 seconds at the close of the race, when he had been much further than that behind the Brazilian. So, but yet again, a win for McLaren. They were in first and second positions on the grid, having dominated practice for Monaco. They won at Brazil with Alain Prost. They won at San Marino with Ayrton Senna. They were second at San Marino with Prost. They're going to win here because Prost has just got to go into place 1, it says there, plus 19.6. There's the board going out to confirm what Prost will know on his headphones after an absolutely, typically superb drive.
Yes, I'm sure Prost will have to mark that one down as a lucky win, but they all count, and the race was pretty much won and lost at the start, and whatever happened to Senna, because we just don't know why he went off. He clearly banged the nose of the car, but he had got it very much sewn up. It did demonstrate that the battle behind, when Prost was trying to get past Berger, took over half the race to do it. It did very clearly show just how impossible overtaking is here at Monte Carlo. So Prost, now a very comfortable drive once he'd dealt with the Ferrari. Senna must be very disappointed, because of course that gives Prost quite a healthy lead over him in the championship.
Yes, Alain Prost into the Tabac. Riccardo Patrese is still going well. Race order just in the closing stages. He's passed Dalmas. Riccardo Patrese has moved up into 6th place on the last lap of this race, because into the last corner of the 1988 Monaco Grand Prix to score his 4th victory here, an absolutely superb achievement, which is recognised by everybody here, goes Alain Prost to win the 1988 Monaco Grand Prix and raise his wins to 30, his points to 430. And in second place will be, because I'm waiting for him to come across the line, and I see him, as you see Prost, to drive up the hill on his victory lap. Gerhard Berger, there he is, finishing second for Ferrari. Ferraris are back, but not back to the very top, but they're very much back in contention, because I wait now for Michele Alboreto as Prost goes into and now out of Casino Square. I see Michele Alboreto. You will see him in a moment. There he was. So Ferrari's second and third. Derek Warwick, of course, has been lapped, so will be in 4th place. Jonathan Palmer, 5th. Riccardo Patrese, 6th, who displaced Yannick Dalmas on the last lap, 7th place. Thierry Boutsen, 2 laps down in 8th position. Nicola Larini, 3 laps down in 9th place. And Ivan Capelli, 6 laps down, will I think be the last to be classified. Only 10 people will have been classified as finishers, and here they are again. Victory for Alain Prost. 2nd, Berger. 3rd, Alboreto. 4th, Derek Warwick. 5th, Jonathan Palmer. 6th, Riccardo Patrese. 7th, Yannick Dalmas. 8th, Thierry Boutsen. 9th, Nicola Larini. And 10th, Ivan Capelli, with a fastest lap for Ayrton Senna in 1 minute 26.3, but that will be poor consolation for having lost 9 World Championship points. Now, in World Championship terms, that means to say that Alain Prost has extended his lead. He now leads Gerhard Berger by 10 points, with Ayrton Senna third. with Nelson Piquet in 4th position. Michele Alboreto is 5th, and Derek Warwick 6th, and he's scored twice this season. In the Constructors' Championship, McLaren lead Ferrari by 13 points, with Lotus a poor 3rd, Arrows 4th, Benetton 5th, and Tyrrell 6th ahead of Williams with 1 World Championship point.
Della classifica del campionato del mondo 1988, dopo la sua vittoria in Brasile e il suo secondo posto a Imola. Altri 9 punti al suo attivo oggi per la vittoria del 46esimo Gran Premio di Monaco Formula 1 davanti a 2 ottimi ferraristi, Berger et Alboreto.
On appelle Cyril Sim est en train de féliciter pour la 4e fois Alain Prost. L'hymne national pour la victoire de Alain Prost. Nous allons attendre dans quelques instants l'arrivée aussi de Gerhard Berger pour la 2e place et de Michele Alboreto pour la 3e. C'est-à-dire que nous allons accueillir dans quelques instants les 2 pilotes de Ferrari, 2e et 3e sur ce podium. Très applaudis aussi les 2 pilotes de Ferrari qui arrivent devant donc la tribune de Princière.
Gerhard Berger, che aveva benissimo cominciato quest'anno con il suo secondo posto in Brasile, il suo 5° posto a Imola. Alboreto sta raggiungendo anche lui il podio d'onore con un bellissimo 5° posto anche in Brasile, si ritrova terzo qui nel Principato di Monaco, una pista che conosce molto bene.
Féliciter actuellement les 2 pilotes Ferrari avec Alain Prost qui vont recevoir les différentes récompenses pour bien sûr le vainqueur, le 2e et le 3e. Et voici l'hymne national pour le vainqueur Alain Prost. Quatrième victoire à Monaco pour Alain Prost après 84, 85, 86, c'est 88.
Molto cameratismo anche fra i due piloti Ferrari che si sono complimentati a vicenda, Berger e Alboreto, insieme a Alain Prost sulla tribuna d'onore.
Alain Prost avec Jean-Marie Dubois, que l'on connaît bien de chez Mouette et Chandon. Bien. Donc, dans quelques instants, on va saluer sa 30e victoire. 30e victoire avec le trio que l'on peut regarder. Prost, Berger, Alboreto. Et également Ron Dennis, l'équipe McLaren, étant évidemment très heureux de cette